And welcome to what I would say is an especially junky Ben's junk, but it may just be a basic case of I/O error on my part. And when I say that, I mean ignorant operator, as in Benny Boy. So anyway, this is my first failed attempt at making a bit of, I guess you could say, progress on the tech front that really needs to happen in archive land, and it has for a long time now. I actually have a paid Patreon Ben's junk that I have not been able to do because, as it turns out, it needs period correct hardware. But anyway, this is just going to be a very loose chat on this. If you clicked on this video looking for computer repair advice, this is not where to look. You might be better off dispensing advice in the comments. Advice like, don't make computer videos, Ben. But I just thought it would be kind of a change from the usual Ben's junk stuff. So here we go. Anyway, as I said, this is my failed first attempt at getting myself a bit of period computer hardware. This is a laptop, in case you didn't get the hint. Running Windows 98. It's a Hitachi Visionbook Pro 7560. I believe introduced in 1997. I think this unit is from 98, and I can only find one anecdotal price for this, and that was $1,800, circa 1998. So if that's true, double that for inflation, especially recent inflation. Anyway, hopefully this will be getting replaced very, very soon. I've been talking to a very generous, very nice archive viewer whose whole love is older computers, and he's been working on one for me to donate to the archive. So I'll probably do a Ben's junk on that. Certainly, you'll see it in a future archive episode, assuming everything pans out. I may have it by the time this comes out. I do tend to make Ben's junks in batches, so it might be a few days between my making this and using this, or closer to a month. It just depends on what else I'm trying to work on at a given time. But anyway, getting back to the Hitachi here, this, as far as I could tell on a spec level, ticked all the boxes that I needed. So let's just take a quick cruise around it. I will get things wrong. You will probably yell at me, but it's a chance I'll have to take. So up front, we've got 3.5-inch floppy, which does work. I wanted a DVD-ROM drive, but I just couldn't get one from this period. So basic CD-ROM there. And I should note, this was a Fleabay-ism, and the shipping was about the same price as the unit. So it's not like I dumped too much into this. Let's see, we got headphones, and even though that kind of looks like the modern Wi-Fi symbol, I assure you it is not Wi-Fi. Some sort of infrared thing, and then a slot for PCIe, something like that, some sort of early express card, perhaps. For someone my age, I am absolutely horrible with computers. But I do have stuff that I just don't foresee anyone else covering, and that, as far as the software goes, is more in my department. So yeah, again, I need to have something workable. Anyway, we got our various parallel ports, VGA, that sort of thing. We got a PS2 slot for a mouse or an external keyboard. And on that note, we do have USB 1.0, and it actually did communicate with one of my semi-older, like 5 years old, wired nieces, as I call them, mice. And of course, this predates Wi-Fi, certainly in the mainstream, so everything's plugged in, either modem or local access network. And over here, it almost looks like a really early SATA port, but do not quote me on that. This thing has taken a few falls, I've noticed over the years. We've got broken off corners on both sides. And I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but you might notice that the lid slightly smiles at us. And then over here, it's kind of semi-detached. I guess this bottom part is supposed to be detachable, but it hasn't worked for me, but I can make snappy noise with it. Snappy noise is always good. And if I open it up, it's fairly standard trackpad, and the cursor speed is just way fast on this, even when I slow it all the way down. Otherwise, the letter U keeps trying to pop off, but it's still working for now. And otherwise, I think this is going to be probably better served by me taking a cut and firing this up. Before I do, yeah, once upon a time stereo audio, only the right speaker seems to work these days. I only get the right channel when I pop in something with a known, where I know the stereo pattern to it. Anyway, yeah, let's take a cut here, and I'll move the camera, fire this up, and I'll just really reminisce a bit and kind of go over the quirks of it, and it all kind of ties together. All right, we're hooked up. I got my favorite pair of passive speakers hooked up. Unfortunately, being passive speakers, you can only get so much level and so much frequency response out of them, so we're a bit limited in what we can do, but let's get this sucker going. Now, I should note that on a cold boot like this, I'd say 90% of the time we'll get to the main Windows 98 desktop and the wallpaper will just disappear. It'll turn a basic blue, icons will still be there, and the computer will just almost come to a grinding halt. And you hit Control-Alt-Delete, and it's trying to tell you that some random program that you never opened in the first place, weren't using, hasn't been touched in 20 years, is not responding. So that's kind of interesting. And as far as programs go, I wanted to show it in this condition instead of trying to wipe and completely redo it. Partially because it's like, okay, I'd like to max out the RAM. I think this can do up to 144 megabytes. There's only 32 in here. And this is kind of from the era of the capacitor plague. I'm not one for just going and replacing capacitors. I'm terrible at it anyway. But there's so many other potential things going on. But as for me showing it in this state, it's because the previous owner left all their old stuff on here, minus documents. So anyway, let's get past the password. The background will go blue on us. It's just an issue of does it come back out of it. So if it doesn't within 30 seconds, 45 seconds, it's just not going to. But we'll see if we get lucky this time. Watch, because I have the camera on, it'll actually play semi-nice today. But anyway, this is from that period where you would get all sorts of software on a computer, so stuff that I'm pretty sure came with it, like Microsoft Office and Photoshop. Remember when Adobe Photoshop used to come with it? And yes, it is playing nice, amazingly. And there's still like the period AOL stuff on here. Whoever had this was apparently a student at the University of Wisconsin. There's some sort of student portal on here, and was using this at least as late as 2003. So anyway, it looks like it will play nice-ish for us. So let's start with the big vexation of this as far as I'm concerned. And that's the disk drive. I know it's out of the shot. Sometimes I can close the disk drive and it just flops right back open, almost like something broke in there or some sort of mechanical failure. But it's not. I can shut the computer off and close it and it's fine. Sometimes it just doesn't like to play nice. But I mentioned it has very low RAM in it, and I think that might be why it doesn't play audio CDs too good, be it burned or commercial. So just in the name of something clear to hear, I'm going to put this one in. It's just test tones, and at 0 dB, so this is a true brick wall of sound. This is as loud as you can possibly get. Everything's already maxed out. And sometimes it'll play per se, sometimes not. But when it does, it stutters like crazy. So I thought maybe it was a buffering thing, you know, and so like an old Discman, if you would tap on it, it would stop playing because there was no buffer. In this case, I can kind of bang on the computer and it never gets any better or worse. So I think it's a system resource thing. Now, I never used Windows Media Player back in the old days, so this freaked me out a little. A green head with, I guess you're looking into its mind, and there's a visualizer, and it resets itself every time, and it's not terribly pleasant. And you can open up the ears and all, which could take a while. I've noticed that it takes time. Now, you might hear the odd stutter, the odd sputter out of the speakers. That's from the audio stopping and starting again. These do not capture the lowest frequencies. So track 1 on the CD is 100 hertz. So to get us up to something audible, hopefully it caught that, I'll have to jump ahead. So we'll jump ahead to, I guess, track 5, I believe, for 1K. Yeah. Probably not even readable, but there's my little track list. Just one of my little homemade things. And I may have to take a cut in here because it can get very, very slow. Or I get impatient and 3 clicks of the mouse overloads the computer. So yeah, I'll just give it some time and we'll see what it gives us. Okay, we got a track list here, and track 5 seems to be highlighted already. All right, let's see if it'll actually take me to track 5. It's going to sound more like I'm unleashing a string of censored profanities, but no, that is the computer unable to keep up. So just, you could imagine just some song playing completely broken up like that. All right, yeah, I could never get into Windows Media Player back then, and I still can't, still not a fan. I was mostly a Music Match kind of teenager, so we're done with that. Speaking of Music Match, just as a side note here, if you've followed me long enough, you know I've done and still do some music stuff, but when I was first starting out as a teenager, didn't know what I was doing, making a lot of what you would call outsider music. It was all with mp3.com. So one of the things I'd like to do when I get a fully working rig here is maybe try some stuff out from the old mp3.com manual. Try some of the other programs, stuff that I did not do back then. This book is from 1999, so it would be about period appropriate. This book is from right around the end of the Napster era. So anyway, it won't do audio CDs too good, but it can handle software with varying degrees of success. Now, the CD-ROM software that I've still got in my possession is almost entirely Windows 95. But by the same token, I don't remember any great difference between 95 and 98. Somebody can yell at me over, whatever the differences were. But from my perspective, when I was like, I would have been in 6th or 7th grade when my family got Windows 98. I don't remember it feeling like any great change from 95. But anyway, this was the period where you could go to the grocery store and buy shovelware, like next to the video section, back when grocery stores had video sections, little video stores. But whereas other kids were buying 50 games for $5, I was doing like public domain video on CD-ROM, ultra compressed, in this case, dreadful, ultra weak sound, even if I had a really good, strong set of speakers. And yeah, more proof that I was just a really weird kid. Now, when I got this, we were still on Windows 95, and my parents' Windows 95 computer could not handle this. And these are very, very low bit rate video files here. Strangely enough, this will handle it better, but then again, it is a much lower data rate than an audio CD. So if we can get to the home screen, what meager one there is. I don't even know why I'm trying to move the mouse. Let's see here. One of my favorites, American Express, Do You Know Me? Mel Blanc, the voice of Bugs Bunny, and a ton of others. And I'm probably going to have to just pick up the speaker and hold it next to my mic. So it takes a second. There you go.
Would you believe I'm Bugs Bunny? I'm also the voice of many other cartoon characters. But in here, they don't care if I'm Elmer Fudd. So I carry an American Express card.
Again, this is with the audio all the way up.
For business and pleasure.
But you get the idea. So it's kind of amusing to me that this computer, for all its quirks, can handle that. Now, I know this was the heyday of Duke Nukem and stuff. I never had anything like that. It just wasn't an interest of mine. I played Doom a few times at a friend's house, but I never really owned any of those really RAM-eating games, so I can't really truly put this to a stress test. So the next best thing I could think of was digging through my old software. Well, I remember some decent graphic and audio stuff going on with You Don't Know Jack, truly a Gen X slacker, quasi-nihilist, snarky quiz show sort of thing here. I won't play any of the game, but I guess I'll show that I can have this thing deliver something resembling usability at times. Of course, I failed to close out of those commercials. And I may have to hold up the speaker. Although it seems to like the audio from PC games a lot better than anything else. Yeah, there we go.
Get this frog in my throat all day.
Hey, Ray. Thanks for picking up my drug thing. I appreciate it. No problem. One question, though. Where are the buttons?
I just want to let this run long enough for the desktop to go away, because that's one of the great gimmicks of You Don't Know Jack. It starts as a little screen, and then it goes big.
My name's Cookie. How many people are playing the game with us today?
Well, it's going to snark at me no matter what I say.
You don't have any friends today. Oh well, let's have your name.
Funnily enough, it didn't like it, or didn't get it when I would try and say Jack, you know, You Don't Know Jack, or Cookie the announcer, or any of that stuff. Come on, let's get on with this. It's been getting reacquainted with some of this stuff lately. The most time I've spent with this stuff since probably about 1998. Alright, let's get rid of the desktop, if it will do it. I don't want to jump ahead.
If you don't. But if you're buzzing, you only got a few seconds to pick one of the choices or you're gonna lose cash, alright?
Alright, it should be any second here.
Good luck.
Okay, lose the desktop.
There we go.
And say black.
Alright,
Cue graphics and stand by.
so there we go. Now, to close things out here, I don't think it lets me skip through this stuff. To close things out, a surefire way to get this thing all confused and, I hate to say brick itself, but yeah, you have to get a certain way into it before you can quit. A way to get to kind of quasi-brick itself, this computer, is to do something real simple, like access anything in the control panel. Try and adjust the cursor speed on the mouse, or check out the system specs, something I can only seem to do in safe mode. So we'll see if I can just open up control panel here. And sometimes it doesn't even let me select it, but it'll just wipe everything off the screen and everything becomes unusable and I have to Control-Alt-Delete my way out. Yep, didn't even get to click anything. And that is all she wrote. So yeah, I don't think I trust this enough to do any of the projects that I want to do. But I thought I'd show it just for a little change of pace here. And the keyboard commands stop working too. So I'll have to do the mouse thing. Yeah, I just thought I'd give you a little change of pace there. That will be it for this installment of Ben's Junk. I'll talk to you again soon.